Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at Palo Alto Networks, and we are looking here at a pretty flawless structure, as within the latest bull run, we seem to have a perfect impulse to be currently in formation. So for this stock, we could realistically be zooming out to look at the broader picture, to look at different interpretations. But I believe that as long as the internal levels of support continue to hold and the structure continues to deliver within this primary expectation of an impulse, I believe we can favor continuation to higher prices within this structure. It seems to be a pretty reliable one, and until we either see a break of the levels of support or a completion of the structure that I'm tracking here, we can stay within the smaller time frame and we can focus on the more practical information. So for this structure, we are very likely in the late stages of the pattern up. I do believe we can favor continuation to higher prices. I do believe the structure remains incomplete at this point in time, but we aren't actually looking for that much to still happen. So in this move up, I have the wave 1 to have topped here, then I consider it likely for this to have been a running flat within a wave 2. And I am now tracking a wave 3, of course within the idea of an impulse. So in this interpretation, in this wave 3, I believe we are looking for one last high within the wave 5 of the wave 5. And once that happens, we have to be aware that the pattern, the count, would be complete within this as a wave 3, and a larger wave 4 correction would be waiting to happen. Is it an absolute must? Of course not. Extensions could still be happening. But this is a scenario we need to be prepared for. This doesn't mean the rally wouldn't continue afterwards, because yes, that would only be the wave 4 of this entire move up, which means we would still expect one additional high within a wave 5. So I go into the smaller time frame, and within this wave 5 I am actually tracking a very beautiful impulse even internally, just beautiful structures all throughout this impulse, and within this move I am tracking a correction within a wave 4. For this idea of one additional high within the wave 5, the levels of support extending down to $323 at the 50% retracement must hold. If we get a sustained break below this last level of support, it would be a strong indication that the wave 3 had already topped and that we are within the larger wave 4 correction. It's not going to be the end of the world, but it would imply that we would be trending in what would most likely end up being a sharp decline to lower prices. It would imply a significantly larger correction, as within this wave 2 I am tracking in this area, I believe we can clearly tell how this has taken about 20 days to materialize. And there certainly is the scenario that this would have been a double 1-2 setup, and that even the larger wave 4 wouldn't necessarily need as large of a correction. But I'm not too certain about that outcome. This is more in the idea of an additional extension that I'm not necessarily focused on at the moment. But as I was saying, as long as we hold the internal levels of support, we can focus on direct continuation to higher prices, as within this wave 5, I believe we can expect one additional high. And again, if we break them, if the 50% retracement doesn't end up holding, I wouldn't consider the larger structure to have failed, but I would instead just have to consider that this would have been a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Not exactly ideal. I do not necessarily like this interpretation too much. I much rather prefer that we see that one additional high, but looking at the current pricing and the broader market, it might be the case that these levels will not end up holding. I do not know, I am just sharing the data that I have available, and based on it, I am looking for a 3-wave correction to happen in this wave 4, and since within this as a wave 2, which I'm tracking in the idea of something like an A, B, C pattern, well, this has taken about 3 days to materialize, right? 2 to 3 trading days. Well, at this point, today we are looking to start the 3rd day of this wave 4 correction, which would finally allow the proportions of this as a wave 2 and this as a wave 4 to have a match. It doesn't need to finish the correction today. It does happen decently often that the wave 4 ends up being a bit larger than the wave 2, sometimes by a quite high margin, but for now, I believe we can look forward to this expectation, and especially as we maybe notice the pre-market pricing, we could see a bit of a dip even into the 50% retracement today. Now, in terms of the internal structure, unfortunately, we do not have the most clear data, but what I could consider is certainly something like an A, B, C structure, in which case we would be towards the very late stages of this correction at this point. I believe we would still be within an internal wave tree, but definitely towards the later stages. And the ideal target for the wave C would be the 100% extension of the wave A, which sits at $327. This is in line with this small structural support level we have within this as an internal wave 4 before extending directly higher, but I do not believe that it necessarily needs to stop at these levels and see the reversal exactly from that point. And yes, we might rather see even a brief break below the 50% retracement, but what I'm looking for is the sustained break for the indication that this setup is eventually going to fail. Now, in terms of targets, we aren't necessarily looking at the biggest move to the upside within this yellow wave 5. After all, it is within a rather small time frame relative to other stocks at the very least. Smaller returns perhaps, but in terms of risk-reward ratio, well, even from the current pre-market pricing, we could be looking to risk maybe 3-4% while potentially gaining 10, 15, 20% in this next wave up. And for now, unfortunately, there isn't much else to add. We would need to see more data than what we simply have within the current market downturn, and just heading to lower and lower prices isn't going to help too much in determining when we might be able to see a potential bottom. But yeah, for now, this is about it from me. If you want even more, you can check out the Patreon, but these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.